U.S. President Donald Trump recently announced a supposed deal with Coca-Cola to switch out high fructose corn syrup with regular cane sugar in their Coca-Cola drinks. Now, this deal, this supposed swap, hasn't actually been confirmed by Coca-Cola, but it did say we are carrying out some changes that we will be announcing soon. So it kind of sounds like they might be doing this, but they also haven't exactly confirmed that this is a thing they're actually going to do. Now, Trump has said that this is something that they're going to do in order to improve, to make Coca-Cola healthier for people to consume. Well, this actually won't accomplish that in any way, shape, or form. For two main reasons. One, Coca-Cola is not healthy, and there is nothing that you can do to make it healthy. The stuff is basically poison because it's just added sugars into your diet, and there is nothing that is going to change that in any way, shape, or form. Whether it is high fructose corn syrup or regular cane sugar, it is still added sugar into your diet, which you do not need. Now, if you do carry out a balanced diet, you do eat properly, and then you have some added sugar, you do have a Coca-Cola once in a while, then it's perfectly fine. Again, everything in moderation, you're okay. But there is no real, actual, significant difference between high fructose corn syrup and regular cane sugar in terms of your health. They're essentially the same thing, and they have the same effect on your body, and your body treats them exactly the same way. So this, in terms of which one is healthier, will have no effect in any way, shape, or form. But there's also something more interesting about this supposed switch. Now, it should be no surprise that Coca-Cola is quite possibly the number one drink in the United States, which means that the amount of high fructose corn syrup that goes into the drink is astronomical. Now, this is easily purchased. This is easily obtained by Coca-Cola, given how much the actual corn industry is subsidized by the U.S. government. It is the most subsidized thing in the entire United States economy. Literally, nothing else is subsidized more than corn in the U.S. And this goes right back to the original NAFTA agreement and flooding Mexico with cheap corn in order to drive regular farmers out of business, in order to force them into the maquiladora sectors, and changing the Article 13 of their constitution, and that led to the Zapatista uprising and whatnot. But in order to make high fructose corn syrup as cheap as possible to use as a substitute for sugar, because you essentially basically can't grow sugar in the United States because the climate is not right for it. Now, that's not to say that you absolutely cannot grow sugar in the United States. There actually is some cane sugar that is grown in Florida. Now, it's a very, very minuscule amount, and it is subsidized very heavily, but the amount of it is so very, very small. So the question begins. So the question is, exactly where is Coca-Cola going to get all this cane sugar from? Because it's going to need an astronomical amount of it in order to make up for the amount of high fructose corn syrup they actually use. Where are they going to get this from? Who's going to supply that much cane sugar? Well, there's a country nearby that could supply that much cane sugar called Cuba. But for political reasons, we know basically that amount of cane sugar is not going to be coming from that country. Although traditionally, a long time ago, it actually had been coming from there. But most likely, this would have to be sourced from numerous countries in order to make up that large an amount. But now this also hurts the domestic economy. What happens to all that high fructose corn syrup, all that corn that is now not being consumed or that is not being ordered by Coca-Cola? This is now going to hurt domestic farmers that are not going to be consuming that corn. So what? That's just going to be sitting around, not being consumed, not being purchased. So this is going to hurt domestic farming policy as well. Regular, small farmers. It's very difficult to to put most farming in the United States as small farmers, considering that many of them are very wealthy landowners who use migrant workers to do much of the actual farming that is actually carried out. But regardless, this is going to hurt domestic policy, much of the rural area, much of the area that actually did vote for Donald Trump. So again, now who's going to buy that corn to make up for that loss that Coca-Cola was once purchasing? So they can see what kind of an entire mess this actually really is. So when you look at this whole situation altogether, you really wonder, what exactly is Donald Trump actually doing? What was the point of this? What is being accomplished by this? Well, it didn't make anything actually healthier. And if the president actually cared about things being healthier for people, then he wouldn't have cut all the nutritional programs in the big, beautiful bill that would have helped people to begin with. So we know people's health is not something that the president cares about in any way, shape, or form. So it seems like this is just some kind of policy that's thrown out there to just get people's attention and just to maybe drag their attention away from something else, like, I don't know, maybe the Epstein files or something like that. So really, when we look at it, this serves really no purpose whatsoever, because all of what it's supposed to do are all things that Trump doesn't care about in any way, shape, or form. So we know this is a distraction tactic. This is meant to do something else. It's meant to distract from something, or to try to boost or pay attention to something else. We know that his specific purpose that he states is absolutely not true. And we see that this is actually, if this actually does go through and this actually does get done, it's an entire economic mess that's going to actually harm the U.S. economy rather than do any benefit to it whatsoever. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.